Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, is it time your website got an MOT? Now, what I'm specifically going to be talking about today is something called conversion rate optimization, or CRO for short. Any of you guys heard of that? Not heard of that? Not heard of that. So this is going to be a bit new. Okay. I'll go through what it means. I'm quite happy for you guys to kind of interject while I'm speaking if there's something that you don't understand or terminology that I use that that you haven't heard before. I don't want to lose you early on. There might be something crucial in the first slide, which if you don't get that, then the rest of it might not make any sense to you. Okay, just to say a little bit about who I am. So I have an agency background. I was there for 7 years. I actually worked with Andy for a number of years before we both went up to set our own things. I'm a digital strategy consultant, and I've been working with Hills Green and Hills Green clients for over 3 years. And then in the previous life, I was actually a small online and offline business owner. I had an offline business which I moved online, and we're talking in the olden days of kind of 2006, 2007, the wild west of the internet. So my experience is very varied in terms of the clients that I've worked with. I've worked with some very large businesses that you may have heard of, and a lot of very small businesses that you wouldn't have, and medium-sized ones, e-commerce businesses, lead gen businesses, B2B, B2C, pretty much any type of business that you could ever think of, including chemical reactors, which was interesting. And I'm a CXL certified optimizer and a CXL certified digital psychologist, which is actually a lot grander than it sounds, but I've put that in there because that's relevant to what I'm going to be speaking about today, and to show you that I am actually qualified to speak about this stuff. Okay, I want you to imagine this scenario. So you're running the website ruralwidgets.com, which gets 50,000 visits per month, has a conversion rate of 1.5%, and a fixed average order value of £50, which means it generates £450 per year. Is everyone okay with all that terminology? Yeah, okay. At the beginning of the year, your CEO sends you an email demanding a 10% increase in annual revenue, or he'll fire you. So this year you'll need to make £495,000 from the website to keep your job. And there are only 2 ways that you can think of to achieve it. Number 1, get your agency to drive 60,000 extra visits to the website. But you check the email again and it specifically says you're not being given any extra budget. Put prices up by 10%, but you know from bitter experience that any price increase simply sends customers into the arms of your hated competitor, countrywidgets.com. So how do you save your job? You recall some guy at the recent Hills Green Roundtable banging on about something called conversion rate optimization, or CRO, which I'll refer to it as for the rest of the presentation, and look into it further. And it turns out, actually, there's another way. So You work out that if your website conversion rate increased from 1.5% to 1.65%, you would then hit the 495,000 target without having to generate any extra traffic at all or put your prices up by a single penny. You dig out the presentation that Hannah at Hills Green sent you after the roundtable, and it inspires you to learn more about how to do this. Armed with data and an enhanced understanding of your customers' behavior, you work out why so many people are dropping out at key stages of the on-site journey. You manage to increase the website conversion rate to 1.65% and hit the magical £495,000 number at the end of the year. And what's more, you save on advertising costs because it now costs you 10% less to generate the required revenue from your ad spend as it did when the conversion rate was 1.5%. Your boss gives you a pay rise. So, does your website need a CRO MOT? Well, the fact that you haven't heard of CRO pretty much means yes. I can tell you that straight away. So if you didn't ever service your car, would you really be surprised if it sprung an oil leak at some point? Websites are like cars, except if you leave a website for too long without service, it won't leak oil, it will leak customers. There are two other very good reasons why CRO is becoming more essential as time goes by. Number one, acquisition costs are going up. So generating traffic through SEO is actually becoming really hard, especially for small businesses. And as PPC becomes more competitive in most niches, click costs are being whacked up. And by successfully improving conversion rates over time, that will counteract increasing acquisition costs. The same goes for paid social, by the way. Paid social costs are going up. Conversion rate optimization can give you a competitive edge because if you can acquire customers more cheaply from any channel than your competitors, then you'll grow faster than them and you'll win. So what is conversion rate optimization? So it's actually an exceptionally badly named discipline because it isn't just about improving conversion rates. It's about growing through better marketing on your website, using data and behavioral insights to find areas of the website that are weak and where you're leaking customers. And CRO is basically about working out what needs to be done to plug these leaks and improve your website's performance. So CRO is first about using the available data to find where the problem is so that you can go about discovering what the problem is. Now that screenshot there, this is an e-commerce website, and what this is showing you is that 69,000 odd or 70,000 odd out of those 96,000 visits, 72% of those don't go on to actually look at a product. And then of those 70,000 odd, 70% of those don't go on to add something to their cart, and of those 44 of the ones that do, 45% drop off there and don't ever make it to checkout, etc., etc. So that's an exceptionally leaky website, and so just that small piece of data there shows you the places that you need to go looking to see why on earth this is happening. The CRO isn't just about data. Just because you know what the problem is and where the problem is, it doesn't mean you know how to fix it. So a lot of conversion rate optimization is to do with using psychology to work out what the right messages are going to be to influence the user behavior in a way that solves your leaking problem. That screenshot there is from booking.com, and I don't know if you've ever used these guys, but they're all over it with CRO, and they have been for years. And all of these, I mean, so much of their real estate is used up by little tricks that they're doing to try and persuade you to take the actions that they want. So on there you've got use of social proof, so reviews, bestseller, stars, use of scarcity and urgency. So they always seem to be, it always seems to be the last available room in the property. And things like, yes, this was booked 3 hours ago, so it looks like it's in demand. So it's kind of trying to create that feeling, sense of urgency. And also they're using what's called the endowed progress effect, which is one more trip and you'll unlock exclusive discounts. So the endowed progress effect is if you've already made it a certain way towards a goal, you feel compelled to progress to complete that goal. What CRO isn't, so these are 3 golden rules of CRO. Number 1, your opinion doesn't matter, and by that I don't mean you listening to me, but mine as well. It's not about opinion, it's trying to work out what the facts of the situation are. Number 2, you don't know what's going to work. So there's no real best practice, this works every time in CRO. Websites are highly contextual, audiences are all very different. What works on one website doesn't necessarily work on another. There are things that work for 80% of websites, but you'll find the odd website where your trusted tactic doesn't work. So you literally don't know what's going to work. And also there's no magic templates that make your website convert better every time, that work for every audience. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the conversion rate optimization process to show you the kind of things that need to happen for CRO to happen. Okay, so essentially it's a 2-step process, an intensive research phase followed by an implementation phase. So for businesses that are heavily invested in CRO, like booking.com, this process is repeated over and over and over again, ensuring that they're continually improving their conversion rate over time. So the analysis phase is broken down into several parts. So I'll go through these in subsequent slides. So technical CRO analysis, web analytics, mouse tracking analysis, heuristic analysis, qualitative analysis. And the implementation phase consists of categorization and prioritization of the issues that you find, quick win implementations, strategic implementations, and A/B testing. I'll explain all of these. So, first things first, a technical CRO analysis. So this part of the analysis is concerned with identifying performance issues caused by technical problems with the website, such as slow page load or incompatibility with certain browsers. So what you would essentially do is head to Google Analytics and look at split out by mobile, tablet and desktop, and look at conversion rates across different browsers, operating systems and screen sizes, and you'll very often find that you've got high bounce rates on a particular browser or really low conversion rates from certain screen sizes, and it's because the website's responsiveness isn't working properly. So these issues are very, very common, and it's the first place to start, because often there's some quick wins to be had there. So for example, it doesn't work on Chrome would be a bit disastrous. You'd also put the site through page speed tools to identify loading speed issues, which can impact on conversion rates. I'm just highlighting here that Kills Green. I ran it through Google's page speed test, and it's seen better days. So I just thought I'd point that out, Liz.
It's fine. We have a new web.
Next, the web analytics phase. So this is concerned with finding areas of drop off on the website. So where are people falling out? You'll also do at this point an analytics health check, which is to do with making sure that you're tracking everything that needs to be tracked to allow you to find the areas of weakness on your website. So at basic level, are you actually tracking conversions in the first place, which you'd be surprised because I see that quite a lot. Or things like that, there's some key buttons that you might want to track, banners, just anything clickable on the website. So one of the things you do is compare conversion rates, bounce rates from key landing pages to see if there's any massive differentials. If you're an e-commerce business, you'd be probably the first place you'd look to see if there's a lot of checkout drop-off, which is a huge problem for most e-commerce websites. Looking at your lead gen pages to if you're a lead gen website, looking at the on-site journey using behavior flow reports, which you can see the screenshots there. They show how people are flowing from one page to another and whether they're dropping out at the next stage. And so it really gives you a very good idea of where people are falling out. And again, you would do a separate analysis for desktop, mobile, and tablet. So the next piece of analysis that you do is a heuristic analysis. So heuristics are like mental shortcuts, which allow you to make quick judgments about things, because there's two parts to your brain. There's the quick and stupid, and there's the slow and a bit cleverer. When people are browsing websites, they tend to be in quick and stupid mode, and they're making very quick judgments about what they're seeing. So when you're on autopilot, your judgment about what you're seeing and reading on the page can be flawed if especially when there's a lack of clarity. So you haven't made things as seamless and as obvious as you might have. So this is all about checking key pages on the website. So your money pages for relevancy, clarity, value, friction, and distraction. So flaws in any of those things can reduce the performance of a web page. And again, separate. You need to look at this across, separate it out for desktop, mobile, and tablet. The next phase is mouse tracking analysis. So this is concerned with how users are interacting with elements on a particular page. So if you look in Google Analytics, the web analytics analysis will tell you where to look, so which pages to look at, whereas this kind of analysis shows you on those pages how are people interacting with the various elements on the page. So you would create a list of problem pages, and then you would head to the mouse tracking to see what's going on those pages. And one of the things you would look at is a click map. So in top left is a click map. And why this is useful is you can see whether the things that you actually want people to click are being clicked, or are there things that they're not supposed to be clicking, but they are clicking. And in the case of this company at the top left, there's a load of clicks on the text for some reason, whereas we want the clicks to be on that form to the right. Another thing that you would look at are scroll maps. So just underneath that is an example of a scroll map. What this shows you is how far people are scrolling down the page. Now, there's an obvious issue in that particular instance, because you can see that the yellow shade there indicates that there's a certain amount of people who have already dropped off before they get to the main thing that you want them to do, which is click that button on that form. So there's an obvious issue there. How can we prevent that from happening? Form tracking is shown below that, and what this shows you is on a particular form, how many people are dropping off having started to complete that form, and what form fields are they dropping off at. And that can be really useful to show you maybe technical issues with the form, or there's something about the way that you've worded the form that is confusing people as to what they're supposed to put in there. So that one can be particularly useful. Session videos, which you can see that the moving image there. Session videos, so the mouse tracking software actually records people's visits, and that's useful for when the click maps, the scroll maps, form tracking don't highlight anything particularly unusual, and it's another place to go to try and get some insight as to what's going on. And again, you do this, you separate it out for desktop, mobile, and tablet. And the final bit of the analysis stage is qualitative analysis. So this is data gathered from the subjective views of your customers in an attempt to provide rationale for certain behaviours that the quantitative data isn't explaining. So good examples, customer surveys. So that might take the form of an email that you send out to customers, or it might take the form of a common thing to do is if you're seeing a lot of users dropping off at a particular page and you're your wit's end trying to work out why on earth they're doing it, you can have a like real-time feedback on that page. So a pop-up will come up and say, which shows them when they're about to leave the site, and might ask them why are you leaving us today, or was there something that you were looking for that you couldn't find today, etc. And that's quite a good way of getting some quick insight as to what's going on. Chat logs, that's another good one. If you're seeing lots of customers, if you've got a live chat and they're coming on and they're repeatedly asking you the same things, it's sometimes because they've been on the website and they can't find that thing on there. Similarly, customer service teams are invaluable source of information, asking what are you continually asked on the phones. And another one, if all else fails, remote user testing. So there's websites like usertesting.com where you can recruit people who fit into your demographic, and you set tasks for them to complete on the website, tailored around the problems that you problem areas of the website, and these guys basically, they go and perform certain tasks for you, and they talk you through what they're thinking as they're doing it, and that can be really, really useful for just problems that you really can't get your head around. Okay, so analysis stage is done, and you've got a load of issues. The next stage is to categorize and prioritize those tasks, because it's likely, especially the first time you do something like this, that there's going to be a load of issues, and you need to put them into some kind of order for the poor guy that's going to have to implement that stuff. So you can see there, it's an example of what I'm talking about. So you've got the category, what the action is, some notes to explain to help the person that's implementing, and also there's a priority score given to it using the PI framework, as it's called, which is you give a score out of 5 or out of 10, or however you want to do it, for priority. It's actually not priority, it's potential, sorry. Potential, importance, and ease. So if we get this done, what's the potential uplift that we're going to get? And the importance is about, well, how important to the business is this, and ease is how easy is this to implement. So there's generally 3 types of action that come out of this. Quick wins. So quick wins are just so obvious that we need to implement this now. We don't need to do any split testing or anything like that. We just need to get this fixed, and they tend to have high priority scores. And there's strategic actions. So sometimes it isn't, well, actually most of the time it isn't necessarily an issue with something that you've already got on your website. This is more to do with there's a piece of functionality which, say, users would typically expect you to have, which you don't, which you believe from looking at the data, you think that your problem areas would really be helped by implementing that thing. So say on an e-commerce category page, for example, you don't have the ability to filter and sort products. That's going to harm the performance of your category pages. Or you want users to log into your site and you don't have the ability to log in via Google or Facebook. Those tend to have lower ease scores, so it generally knocks them out of knocks them down the list of the priority actions. And then the third type are you've identified a problem area and you think you know what the problem is, but the solution to that problem isn't immediately clear. And in these cases, this is about you need to test. So the next thing that you would do is you'd formulate a hypothesis. So I think conversion rate will improve if we change the language on the form submit button from submit to click for free stuff. And then you would test that against what's already there. So just a bit more about split testing, just to finish off. So it's necessary when it isn't clear that your proposed change will actually make a difference. So the first step, as I just said, is you set the hypothesis. Next, set up the test using an A/B testing tool. There are free tools. Google Optimize is actually quite decent, and it's good enough for simple tests. But there's others such as VWO, Visual Website Optimizer, which have a monthly fee attached, and it's actually quite expensive now. So usually for most businesses, when you first start doing this kind of work, Google Optimize is the place where you would start. And then you set your testing period. So I want this test to run for 2 weeks. You don't necessarily need to show 50%. You don't need to do it 50-50. You can set it 60% of users see this page, 40% of users see this page. Wait to see if there's a winner. So the winner's declared when the tool alerts you to the fact that so one of them is winning by a statistically significant margin. But actually a surprisingly large number of tests, you don't find a winner. It doesn't make any difference. And then, but if you do find a winner, the next step is to implement that instead of the existing one. And that's me done.